Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight on the program we are celebrating in Egypt a very special occasion in the history of the country, which is the 39th anniversary of the Sinai Liberation Day, as we did in the past week, or in the same week, celebrate the 10th of Ramadan war victory, which coincided with the 6th of October war victory in 1973. Today we are celebrating the 39th anniversary of the Sinai Liberation Day, which took place in 1982, marking the withdrawal of the last soldiers of the Israeli occupation. And today, of course, we'll be having in the first report the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the messages that stood out in the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to the nation, marking a very special occasion in the history of Egypt. And President al-Sisi, of course, as well, he laid a wreath of flowers on the unknown soldier memorial in Nasr City earlier in the day. But we'll be starting with the top story for today, and it came through the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi online, and more specifically on the social media and Twitter, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi wrote a tweet on his social media account marking the event of the Sinai Liberation Day, in which he said that the Sinai Liberation is a result of a long battle by the Egyptian people who view the land as their honor and dignity. The president expressed his appreciation to the Egyptian people, who have proven in every phase the capabilities to achieve aspirations despite any obstacles. He added that the Egyptian people will never give up on their nation, praying to God to bless Egypt, its army and people. That was the tweet of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi online on the social media account celebrating the 39th anniversary of the Sinai Liberation Day. But we'll be having more details on the speech by President al-Sisi marking the very special occasion in the history of Egypt in the upcoming report. So let's see it.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said on Sunday war was not Egypt's aim, but peace was the ultimate goal and supreme target, as Egypt marks the 39th anniversary of Sinai Liberation Day. Egypt celebrates Sinai Liberation Day on the 25th of April each year to commemorate the completion of the withdrawal of all Israeli military forces from Sinai Peninsula in 1982, following the 1979 US brokered Camp David Peace Accord. The Camp David Peace Accords were signed after the victory of the Egyptian army over Israeli occupation forces in the October 1973 war. In a televised speech, President Sisi said the anniversary will remain proof of the heroism and sacrifices of the Egyptian military and the cleverness of the Egyptian negotiator in preserving the soil of the homeland and protecting its dignity with solid determination. He added that the saga of reclaiming the land has gone beyond being a military and diplomatic victory, but has extended to becoming a timeless example of conquering despair and frustration. The president went on to say that Sinai has always represented a strategic depth for Egypt and enjoys a firm position in the hearts of all Egyptians, noting that today's celebration generates renewed momentum to work on protecting every inch of the nation. President Sisi said that the liberation anniversary of Sinai represents an inexhaustible source from which future generations draw the meanings of pride, struggle, loyalty, and affiliation. The president, moreover, stressed that Egypt's nowadays battle of construction and development is no less important than the previous war, saying, "My confidence in the great people is without limits, and our ambition for tomorrow will be achieved with our hands today."
The Sinai Liberation Day, the 39th anniversary, the military battle on the 6th of October in 1973 was the start, and it was concluded by the diplomatic battles and the negotiations which resulted in regaining Sinai for the time on the 25th of April in 1982, and to be focusing on the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, marking and celebrating such a special occasion in the history of the country and for the Egyptians. I am honored to be having with me over the phone Dr. Sherif Amer, the Professor of Political Science. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Hello.
Dr. Sherif.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah.
Yes, a happy Palm Sunday, a happy Ramadan, and of course, a happy 39th anniversary of the Sinai Liberation Day. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. How did you see the messages that stood out in the statements and the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi marking the 39th anniversary of the liberation of Sinai?
Well, first of all, as you said, this is the period of festivities for all the Egyptians.
Yes.
And we are all united in these memories. And I think that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave a speech which touched all the Egyptians because it highlighted the history of Egypt's struggle on the battlefield and in the negotiations also. And I think it comes in a time that all the Egyptians now are waiting to see their problems concerning, for example, what's taking place in several issues surrounding us in geopolitics, to be resolved. So I think President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave a detailed speech about how Egypt was determined to go on the side, on the military side, to gain the prestige that regain the prestige of Egypt's army after the 6-Day War, and then the war, the 6th October War, was the victory which gave Egypt the possibility to sit on the negotiation table and fight another diplomatic war. We have achieved in this diplomatic war a great, huge of experience, and President Sisi said it clearly that it was a victory for Egypt's diplomacy that will never be forgotten. And I think now Egypt's diplomacy maybe is going through the same fight again for Egypt's right, but in the water now, after it was about the land. So I think that the struggle is on, and President Sisi was very proud of Egypt's history. He gave the energy to the people that the spirit that gave us victory before is still there. It's pushing the new generation to remember how our ancestors fought and made Egypt proud of her son.
Yes, during the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today, he said that the ultimate goal for Egypt is always peace and not war. How do you see this statement being translated on the ground under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the past 6 or 7 years?
Egypt is the stronghold of peace, of stability, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, from the first day in office, he highlighted Egypt's role in bringing peace, security, stability in this region. I think that President Sisi had a policy of strength that we were about to be pushed to several military conflicts, but we refrained from doing it because we believe in peace, we believe in negotiations. President Sisi made several visits from his first day in office. He made several visits to strengthen Egypt's diplomacy, to give peace a chance. We succeeded in bringing peace in Africa during Egypt's heading of presidency of the African Union. We brought peace to South Sudan. We brought peace to Libya. We are seeing now Libya is being reshaped again in peace and security.
Yes.
Because of Egypt's policy. So I think that, and also let's not forget what is taking place now in the Renaissance Dam. We are showing the strength of peace, of negotiations. We never lose hope in peace because this is Egypt. Our military is the best in the region. That's right. But it's always for defense, defending our sovereignty, defending our honor, and not aggression. So this is our ideology as Egyptians. We are strong for peace. We are strong for stability. I think that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gained the respect of all the world leaders because he never rushed into the confrontation. He used to, and he's still using the language of diplomacy, the language of negotiations, because we have seen, unfortunately, since what is called the Arab Spring, we have seen destruction, bloodshed, and President Sisi told all the presidents and the leaders in this region that this would harm everyone. It will not spare any country, and terrorism, if we would not fight it, ideologically, also, we will lose a lot. So I think that President Sisi gave the example of a leader who is willing to wage the war against the ideology, against the destruction, against what is harming the people, and all that is through peace, negotiations, and dialogue.
Yes, on the other hand, President al-Sisi also stated that the diplomatic efforts and the negotiators, the role of the negotiators had a very big role in regaining our land, and more specifically Sinai, as we are celebrating the anniversary of its liberation. The role of the negotiators back then, how did he see it?
Well, we all know that when Egypt started the Camp David Accord, many experts at that time saw that Egypt wasn't able to go along with the skills of diplomacy of Israel, for example. And at that time, we showed another face to the world that we said, well, we will sit on the negotiation table. If it will take 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, we will still stick to our demands. We will never lose hope. And the Egyptian negotiators show the strength of going on and negotiating since the Camp David Accord till the liberation of Sinai, and also regaining Kaaba through the International Court. So we showed the world the skills of diplomacy. The Egyptian negotiator is very skillful. Egyptian diplomacy is very strong, and I think that's why many world leaders, when there is a problem, a huge problem, for example, for instance, when there was the problem in Libya, everyone, all the European leaders rushed to talk to President Sisi because they know Egypt has the skills of diplomacy, the skills of drawing the red line and gaining the respect of everyone. A red line in diplomacy, it means a lot. And I think that we showed the world what is a red line in Libya and how we got what we wanted. So I think that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is heading the new generation of negotiators. Now, we are showing the world that Egypt's diplomacy can impress. Egypt's diplomacy is strong and is unavoidable for peace and security in this region.
Yes, Dr. Sherif, my final question is that a couple of days ago we also celebrated the 10th of Ramadan war victory, and in 1973 coincided with the 6th of October, the war victory against Israel. How do you see the role of the armed forces of Egypt back then during the war and right now fighting terrorism and leading the process of development in Sinai and all over Egypt as well?
Well, look, Egypt's military is unique. Why? Because it's from the people, and every house in Egypt has someone in the military. It's a combination that rarely you find in any country. Egypt's military it comes from every home. It comes from every spirit in Egypt. We all know that this army is very prestigious. It has the ideology of building, constructing, defending. In the war of the 6th October War, well, we showed that we didn't have the same capabilities as Israel at that time, but we fought with our arms that we had at that time, and we impressed the world. And then the army fought against terrorism, and still up till now offering martyrs every day. We have seen how terrorism was eradicated in many parts of Sinai without killing one innocent civilian.
Yes.
This was amazing. This was amazing because Egypt's enemies thought that we will wage a war, total war, and kill everyone. No, the ideology of Egypt's military is the following: human rights, respect of the people, respect of the innocent. We offer them alternative houses. President Sisi by himself managed to find another territories for the civilians so they won't be taken as hostages by these terrorist groups. And then we fought the war to cleanse these regions. And now we are seeing the army, our military institution, is building the infrastructure of Egypt. We are very proud of it. It has a timeline. We know that President Sisi works according to a timetable. Nothing is left for the hazard. No, everything is calculated. The military is very accurate, and we trust it because it's from the people and it comes from us, from every house in Egypt.
Yes, Dr. Sherif Amer, the Professor of Political Science, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate. A very special episode, as I said in the beginning, celebrating and shedding more light on the 39th anniversary of the Sinai Liberation Day. We'll be having more information about that in the upcoming report.
Egypt has allocated £6.8 billion to Sinai's development in its fiscal year 2022-2021, focused on bolstering the peninsula's economic and social advancement and stability, in addition to providing housing services and public facilities for citizens in North and South Sinai governorates. In a recent report, Minister of Planning and Economic Development Hala Saeed announced the allocation and its details as part of the Citizen Plan initiative in North Sinai. The announcement came as part of the nationwide launch of Citizen Plan in its second consecutive year, aiming to activate community participation and involve citizens in planning and follow-up across the country. On Citizen Plan in North Sinai, Saeed explained that the number of development projects in the governorate now stands at 170, adding that the public value investment in the governorate in fiscal year 2020-2021 plan stands at £4.58 billion, an increase of 58.5% over the fiscal year 2022-2020 plan. This represents 1.8% of public investments distributed nationwide, indicating a growth rate of 45.8% in the investments financed by the public treasury and directed to the government. According to the sectoral distribution of public investments targeted in North Sinai as part of the fiscal year 2020-2021 plan, Saeed added that £1.8 billion, or 39.6% of the funds, will be directed to the housing sector and the development of informal settlements. Further, £565.6 million has been directed to irrigation, £400 million to electricity, £286.6 million to local development, and £250 million to higher education. Gamil Hilmi, Assistant Minister of Planning and Economic Development, said that there are several important development goals in the housing, utilities, urban communities sector in North Sinai, which include directing about £646.7 million to drinking water and sanitation services, as well as £200 million to develop informal areas. A further £66.5 million will be directed to the National Social Housing Program in the region. As for North Sinai's local development targets under the fiscal year 2020-2021 plan, Helmi added that £87.2 million will be allocated to paving local roads, in addition to directing for £142.9 million to services to improve the environment.